All right. Hey, everybody. Maria Daniels here with Successfully Chaotic. And I have a guest today, and I'm going to let her just dive right in and introduce herself. We've been chatting for a little bit before we kind of went on air, but super, super nice. She has three puppies. If you hear them bark, then they're just trying to say hello. But I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself and just tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Cyn Meadows, and I am an Amazon seller. I'm a $1 million seller. I am a coach and course creator as well to teach people the risk-free way of how to sell on Amazon. So, very excited. And through that process, I have created a certification program on how to become an e-commerce business manager.
I love that. And I know courses, especially we're in 2020 right now, courses, you see courses popping up everywhere. And I had somebody say to me, my goodness, there's just so many courses. But I think the key of that is everybody's going to vibe differently with whatever their goal set is. And you mentioned coaching. A lot of times coaches will read into whatever your goals are within your business, your life, your mindset, whatever it may be, and they'll guide you to a specific course to be able to meet whatever need that is. So I always like to kind of define, a lot of people are like, well, everybody coaches and everybody does these courses. And I'm like, you know what? That's because there's so many people they have these goals, but they're not really sure how to implement them, right? They're not sure how to kind of get over that hump.
Well, and it also, I think you have to really connect with the instructor. Who do
Absolutely.
you really resonate with and who is really speaking your language? Because if you don't connect with them on a personal level, you're probably not going to be effective in what you're learning and gleaning from the information. So I find
Absolutely.
that personally for me, that really helps.
I feel the same way. And I know I've worked with people in the past that, even though a couple of them did similar things, there was one in particular that was really able to just connect with me. And it's almost like it opened my eyes more. I know it sounds kind of silly, but, it
Yes.
opened my eyes more and I was able to actually see it, even though they were saying similar things than other people had said before. We didn't have that connection, that energetic, back and forth that I did with, one particular coach that I worked with that really, allowed me to kind of open my eyes and see these hangups that I was getting into over and over and over. And I think so many entrepreneurs run into these, it ends up being kind of the same thing. It's like you get to a certain point and it's like a roadblock, the same
Yes.
roadblock.
Yes. Well, a lot of it is regurgitated information too. So you
Yeah.
have to really be careful about that. The very first person that ever created a course talked about how successful they were. So everybody else jumped on the same bandwagon
Yeah.
and created a copycat of the same course and kind of took it from there. So you really have to find your niche and how you can be unique and different and then attract your audience. So I think that's really the difference that I try to make is that I've definitely spent thousands of dollars in coaching and courses and things like that, but some were the majority, 95% of them were total crap that was the same old information I could have gotten off free YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So you really just have to do your due diligence and your homework out there and find the right person for you and what your goals are that really aligns with what you want to accomplish.
So speaking of that, if somebody was thinking about working with a coach or maybe thinking about taking a course, what are some due diligence steps? What are some ideas that you can give them to kind of figure out what the right course for them or the right person to work with is? Is there any tips that you could give them on that?
Yeah, for me, I think start watching them and start following them. How do they speak? Are they supportive? How often do they show up? What does their message say? What from what they say they're going to do, and then what they actually come through with? Is it just top level, a basic headline that they don't really give you a lot of details, or do they really seem like they go the extra mile and help you and give you free training? Because if you think about it, if it's this good free, you can imagine what their paid course would be like, right? So I
Absolutely.
think a lot of it is just that one-on-one connection. How often do they show up in the Facebook group? How often do they do a live? How willing and responsive are they just to your questions? Simple questions. But those are the kind of things of red flags or potential red flags that I look for when I'm searching for a coach or a mentor, because I have been burned so many times with here, buy my course, and then as soon as you send your credit card over, you never hear from them again. You can't
Yeah.
get your questions answered. It's even emailing the support email, it might take a week or they may not ever respond, and that is frustrating. So I kind of have
Absolutely.
learned to play the field a little bit and kind of put forth some just generic questions just to test their responsiveness. And then also you can search for reviews and you can just ask other people and see what other people are saying. See how they respond publicly to other people's questions. You can read a lot between the lines when you just watch them interact.
Absolutely. And I always like to utilize free consultations. I like free consultations because even if they're a fabulous coach and have fabulous courses, they may not vibe with me. They may be great for somebody else, but we just might not have that right connection. So I love to utilize that initial consultation to see, do we feel like we fit, and I think
Yeah.
that's important.
Yes, I do too. And how willing are they to spend time with you? So it's so funny. I was conversing with someone had asked me to join their private group, and then they started, messaging me back and forth, and it was great conversation, uplifting, upbeat. Really wasn't my target audience, but I can't remember, it was some kind of training she did that I really liked. And then as soon as I said, well, that what you're in is really not my niche, cold turkey, no more
Yeah.
response. And I'm like, well, that told me what you were all about. Even if I weren't interested in what you were teaching, that would be a no-go for me
Abs-
right there. So
Absolutely. And I mean, I think there's a fine line between having boundaries and realizing your time is valuable and then also realizing that it's not always about the money and the dollar, and
that's
I think there is a fine line because I think, as an entrepreneur, I've fallen into going ahead and doing overdoing and helping to I don't think you can help too much, but giving so much of myself that I was giving it all away for free. And then I was wondering why I wasn't making the money in my business that I could have been making, is because I was trying to help and overshare and help and overshare. And I think there is a fine line. I think sometimes that can be hard to kind of, pinpoint, like, where is the boundary? Where's the correct boundary
mhm.
on, giving of myself and being a helper, but at the same time realizing that what I have is valuable and it's okay to make money from it.
Yes, yes. And don't feel bad about that, because you have a skill set that other people need to learn. If I were to get into or have an interest to get into podcasting, I wouldn't have a clue where to start.
Yeah.
So I would definitely seek out those people with the skill set so I could learn from them. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned about overgiving, because I was just watching a free 5-day challenge of a very popular, well-known person in the coaching course creator arena. And he was like, forget that, over deliver, over deliver, over deliver, because that's when people learn to value what you're really all about, and they know that you're really that giving person. So that's when you're able to get them into your inner circle, just for the coaching opportunity, not the value of what they're going to learn, because they've
Yeah.
learned so much, but it's the one-on-one personal connection that now they're in your inner circle. They know they're going to get even more valuable one-on-one support. So it's more about the one-on-one support from that point forward, and not necessarily the documents and those kind of processes that they may have gotten for free from you up to that point.
Absolutely. Do you ever find that people that you're working with fall into kind of into two courts, as in, like, maybe they've got to a point where they're, like you mentioned before, the story with, if they didn't feel they were going to make money, they just completely cold turkey cut them off. Or then
Yeah.
you have the other hand where they're not charging any dollars, so they're making no money. And I fell into this one for a long time. It was like, I knew I had stuff to offer and I wanted to help and I wanted to help, but I couldn't pinpoint where is the point where I charge anything, because I didn't want to be, on the other side. I knew I didn't want to be that person. That's not me as a person. I want to be the helper. But
Right.
I got to this point where I was like, I had people that I had worked with for years and I never charged them a penny, because it was like, it just never felt right. Like I don't know, like I had this like block in me that wasn't able to implement actually charging for anything ever with them. And it took me a while with my coach going, why? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I had a problem with doing. And I think, for me, I found that, a lot of times entrepreneurs fall in that, one side or another if they're in an imbalanced state. Have you
Mhm.
ever noticed that?
Yes, I have. And I think the difference, and comes from being in another mastermind, is that you have to put a value on your ability to coach people and mentor them. And it goes back to being one-on-one. So I think when you have your processes, and you have to start with your value ladder, right? So
Yes.
this amount of information is free. The next logical step, what is the next step in order to move them forward, is implementation. So many people, they soak up the information. You give them documents, you give them checklists, you give them case studies, but that will only take them so far. The next logical step is a I'll say one-on-one, but it's a group coaching mentality, to where, okay, your next level, in order to progress in your business, is you need to come on board as a coaching student and get in our community, where we take it up to the next level. You're not going to get there on your own, probably. Most people never make it to the
Absolutely.
next level. But when they're in a coaching community, meaning that a paid community, they show up, they are much more willing to do the work, and they want to get your personalized attention. So see, these other lower value things with all the free, that could be, even if it's a live video, it's still, you might answer questions, you might respond on a Facebook post, but it's not the one-on-one that they would get in a group coaching session. So when they are a part of an elite group, and it's only, I don't, whatever number it is, it could be, 10 people to 150 people, but that's more than 10,000 people, right? So with an inner circle, that's when the magic happens. That's when you really start connecting with them on an individual level. And that's when they are basically paying for your attention and your time to be, and the privilege to be in your inner circle.
And I think it's important that you mention that, because a lot of times, free's great. We all love free. But at the same time, I always say you have to have skin in the game. You value it more if you've got skin in the game. If you've got, if you're invested in it, you're going to pay more attention to it, because it's already taken your dollars that you
Yes,
worked for. And, that way, being able to hold yourself accountable, that's a type of accountability.
yes,
I pay my coach X amount of dollars. I'm not going to skip my meetings. I'm not going to skip all those things, because either way I'm paying them, and that's an investment. And so, sometimes I think we have to, look past that idea that free is better. Free is okay to be able to fill out, that does it fit, does it, whatever. But at some level, there needs to be an accountability. And, sadly, for most people, that's going to take something that's a little painful, giving up our dollars, right?
right. That's right. And it really goes back to paying for your time, because now they've made that commitment, whether, whatever price tag it is, it's usually significant. And it's significant to force them to say, okay, I've now got to get my money's worth. They show up, they want to move forward. So not only are you just getting students to where you're able to make some money, at the same time, you've got an engaged community, which is so powerful. And this is the other thing that I find. When they pay money to be inside of your group, not only are you motivating them, it motivates me, because I've got now engaged people that want to learn. I'm going to work 10 times harder to make sure that I give you value. So to me, that's just exhilarating, because it forces me to be a better coach and mentor to my students that paid money. I want to make sure I'm now over delivering, so they are just thinking this is the best deal since sliced bread, right?
Absolutely. It's a definite energy exchange, and I think that's the key is, being able to find that right fit in a group or a one-on-one, whatever the case may be, to where there is that energy exchange, because that's really what it's all about. It's about, a give and take, because a lot of times I think people fall into this, well, what am I going to get from it? And that's great, but there needs to be a reciprocal relationship for it to really get to the point of getting you over all of those hurdles and all of those humps and those roadblocks that you have been running into in the past.
Well,
You mentioned, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, well, I was just going to make a quick comment about the ones, the freebie people, the ones that just take.
Yeah.
They will never be successful. So you don't really want those people in your group anyway, because they never implement. They're just in it to create the stack of training information, and they never do anything with it. So, that's okay. At some point, they may get serious enough that they want to go for their goals and dreams, but most of the time they're just serial course takers and they never implement. So
Yeah.
spend your time and efforts on the ones that truly want to be successful.
I agree. And that's actually what I was going to talk about is implementation, because, I think that's a big roadblock for people is, maybe they have been that kind of fly on the wall absorbing information, and there's something to be said for allowing that to happen. It's kind of part of the process. I was
Mhm.
like that for the longest time. I had the interest, but I didn't have, I guess, the forethought to be able to go ahead and push forward, or I felt like I wasn't ready, or we end up with those negative self-talks and the self-sabotage and all the other things going on, mentally, that can hold us back from implementing. And I think a lot of people that are in the entrepreneurial, world, a lot of us are dreamers, we're visionaries. We have all these ideas. And so then we become, the course takers and the,
Mhm.
people that are absorbing the information, which that's fine for a time. But I think where a lot of people that I have been in contact with, where they tend to get hung up is in the implementation stage. They've come up with the ideas, they've, taken the courses, and they feel like they're ready on the front end, but they can't, take that step to implement. Right.
So here's a great point. So here's what I want to say about that. Even when I announced or when I introduced myself, I'm a coach and a course creator, two different things. And people or students, as you're mentioning, really are two different levels as well. So remember when I talked about your value ladder, there's all the free stuff, and then the next step is to get into a program. Programs and courses have evolved over time. Just in the 3 years that I've been into this world of learning and trying to create an online business, it has evolved, because it used to be you just throw up a course on whatever platform it is, and it's up to me to go as a student to go in and actually do the work, watch a video, do a little assignment, and learn and implement. Right, there was really no personal interaction there. There is no accountability. So those courses have now evolved to coaching programs. That's where you get the one-on-one interaction. That's where you're in the elite group. That's where, as a group, you all hold each other accountable. And that's how you are able to implement much faster, much easier, because you have more interaction. It's so easy to get lost in I mean, I can't tell you how many courses I bought, and as soon
Oh,
as I
same with
open
me.
it up, and it's like 87 different videos I gotta watch. I'm like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, this is
Yep.
just instantly, you're overwhelmed. It's like, it'll take me 3 years to get through this stuff. So you kind of shut down because it's information overload, and it's all dependent on you taking the time to sit at your computer and just go through it whenever you make time for it. Well, sometimes whenever never comes, but if you have a weekly coaching session every let's say every Tuesday and every Thursday or something like that, to where you've got to show up because it's a live coaching session, or
Yeah.
that you are expected to watch the replay and complete an assignment by a certain deadline. And again, if you paid the money, you want to, number one, please your trainer. You want to be seen as a willing participant, and that's the kind of effort, when you put that effort in, that you're going to implement, because everybody else is implementing and you don't want to be the one left behind. And you get motivated by the others that are implementing, because everyone's sharing their success stories. Oh my gosh, I did this today, I'm so excited, I couldn't believe it, and everybody's like, wow, she did that, I'm going to do that too. So that's the beauty of it. I just did a training on this last week, is, are you worth it? Are you worth spending the time and spending the money, because it makes you accountable for your own results? And that's when you truly move forward, and stop being lazy. We
Yeah.
all get tired. We all get lazy. What do you really want? How important is it to you? That's when you take it to the next level.
Absolutely. And we can all come up with excuses. There's lots of them. And some are very real. Sometimes there's something to be said for pausing and pivoting for the moment. But, for the most part, what we're talking about today is, going ahead and realizing that, holding yourself accountable by, going ahead and paying to be in these groups is a huge first step past the, atypical way that you're just absorbing free information, and, there's a time and place for that too, obviously, but being able to take that next step not only gives you the accountability, like you're mentioning, but it offers this support system that you don't really get in the free groups. I mean, I've been in both and there's some great free groups. I'm not saying there's not, place for those, but there's something that helps you, like you said, get to the next level and really implement, because you're all there for a common purpose. You've all paid the dollars to be there. You're all holding yourself accountable. You've all, invested in yourself. It's an investment in your own personal development and into your future, whatever, your future goals are. That is I think an easy first step,
Yeah.
to be able to start to implement those things.
Well, and I hear pushback from potential clients to say, "Oh, I can learn what I need for free on just binge watching YouTube videos. I don't have to pay you any money. I can get it for free." Yes, you can, but guess what? You're only going to get this much. They're going to say, what you need to do, but they're not going to tell you how you need to do it. So you can spend 3 years watching YouTube videos and researching 50 different people that are experts or gurus that are going to tell you their opinion, but none of them are going to tell you the exact steps you need. So the idea and the beauty and the value of taking or actually investing in yourself and spending the money to join a course is to get you to faster implementation. So by doing that, you might only then, from idea of wanting to do this to complete implementation, may only be 3 months by working with a person that really knows or has the skill sets that you need to be successful, versus doing it on your own for 3 years. So the time, the beauty of the speeding up of the time gets you to success much faster. So it has taken me, it took me exactly 2 years to get to where I wanted to be. But if I had had a true coach and mentor like what I have now put together, I can get the very same people that started with just an idea completely all the way through to implementation in 90 days. So which would you rather spend, 2 or 3 years or 90 days?
Absolutely. And I think for all of us that have gone the long route, I'm one of those too, it is well worth it, because I spent so much more money, actually, not only spent it, but lost it, lost it on stuff that I could have earned, but that I could have paid for, the coaching that I'm doing now 10 times over. I don't even know, probably more than 10, but, and that's the thing, like, being able to have that coach, even if they've got a fabulous course, in the past, you mentioned the way the courses was you would log in, do it on your own timeline. And again, there's places and times for that. But what I would find is we all learn so differently that, during the course, something I may need to skip forward a little bit, or I may, because I already know that portion, or maybe this doesn't make sense because I don't learn that way, whatever it may be. If you just have a course that you're taking without any reciprocal back and forth, conversations and, kind of masterminding and all that, if you don't have that, you end up really missing out. And for a lot of people, myself included, it ends up being that I get frustrated and I wouldn't even finish because it's like, oh, this is pointless because that's too easy. I don't even know what they're talking about over here, and you end up just in that stuck place. So then you're like, oh, cut my losses. I'm done with it, because it's so frustrating to continue. Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just last week, even as a coach and course creator, I still am involved in continuing my own learning, because I constantly learn and better myself. The more, new skills I can learn, the better of a servant I can be to my students, right? So I'm in another mastermind group. Last week, we were on a scheduled maybe 30 to 45-minute call just to be able to ask questions. It was a small group of maybe 8-10 people. We were just sharing ideas and bouncing off of each other. 2 hours in, and the coach is like, "Okay, girls, I got to get off of here. I gotta go." But we're like, "Oh, we want to keep talking." And I got so much valuable information out of it, what was designed to be just a Q&A session. But that's the beauty of the inspiration and the motivation and the feeling of just enjoying everybody's support and ideas, because when you bring a group together and you're able to converse live like that and participate, it's so powerful, because everybody has different skill sets. I learned about a whole new avenue that I can explore to expand my business that I never even knew existed. And I share things with them that they never knew existed. So that's where the power comes in, when you truly are involved and you do take it to the next level, and when you totally are able to commit, your time and your effort. Now, obviously, everybody couldn't participate on that call, but they could watch the replay. They can still get caught up in our excitement just by watching how we interacted, and they can still get the advantage of sharing the same ideas, whether you could participate live at that moment or not. So you still get that value where none of that happens in a free course, none of it.
No. No, I agree. And, my business and honestly, my mindset, and I mean, it sounds extreme, but my life took a shift and a change when I was able to start working with a coach and was able to be in a close knit mastermind, not one with 30,000 people in it, but, a smaller. Again, there's times and places for that, larger group, free flowing information. It's almost like layers, that you are in. But when you get into the deep layers of, a small knit group of masterminds, and we use the term masterminds, but really all that is just people inspiring and bouncing ideas off each other. And, usually we're on a, similar path, maybe not exactly the same business, but we're all in the business world. So, with that comes a lot of similarities and, what we get hung up on and, frustrations and, wins. And, you are able to discuss all of those things. And it's so important to do because, one of the things I see so commonly, especially in a lot of the free groups I'm in, is people, they're so frustrated and they're ready to quit because they're not getting what they need in their personal life. They're not getting it from their spouse or their immediate family or whoever it may be. And I was there, I felt so frustrated because I was like, they don't understand. They don't understand how important this is to me. They don't understand what this means to me, and there was almost like, there was so much resentment actually with me and my husband for a while, honestly. And then even like me and my sister or me and my mom, because I felt like they just didn't understand. But that's the thing, they didn't understand because they don't own a business. They didn't have that same mindset that I did. They didn't have that drive. They didn't have my goal vision. So it was kind of unfair of me really to project, all this resentment on them for not understanding when there's no way that they could have understood. And I think that's why it's so important to have these people that do understand to be able to converse with.
Oh my gosh, girl, you were speaking my language. I call those, or some, not necessarily like your husband or your immediate family, but other people, as dream stealers, because they don't understand. And a lot of people, friends and, some other relatives, think they want to have something negative to say when it's like, oh, I want to do this, I've got a goal, blah, blah. And they're like, are you crazy? That'll never work. You'll never make it like that, blah, blah, blah. And it just completely deflates you. So I completely relate to what you're saying about immediate spouse and things like that. When I first started this online space, it's like I was just, diving in head first. I mean, I was saying my pajamas for days, the entire weekend, and barely come up for air, go grab a plate and come back and eat dinner in front of the computer, still binge watching YouTube and trying to figure it all out and make sure, because I had the goal of early retirement and I had to figure it out. In order to quit my 9-to-5 successful high paying job, I had to replace my income, right? Yeah. So this was hugely important to me. My husband didn't understand it. Get off the computer. Let's go do something. Let's go, we need to do that. Are you going to stay in your pajamas? I mean, I heard it. I heard it. I finally had to say, okay, look, we need to have a family meeting. And this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And this is the success that I want to achieve. And this is what's possible. You've got to be with me or this isn't going to work. So I need, and I'm asking for your support. And once I explained it and I was able to open his eyes to exactly what my purpose was and what the result could be. Oh my gosh, he was my biggest fan, my biggest cheerleader. And it made such a difference in the guilt that I felt, spending all this time and taking away time from family activities or whatever. But because I was that committed to the goal, and hey, I've given my notice. I'll be retiring in like 16 days. Yeah. So it was worth it. And once I finally just found my first little inkling of success, and he saw the income from it. And this, I'm talking about e-commerce sales. He's like, Oh, wow. Okay. I'm now even more committed and I'm now standing right behind you. So it does
Absolutely.
make a difference. So I would definitely suggest take the time to explain. You don't need to explain to every friend and relative out there. You only need to explain to the ones that really are your closest cheerleaders. And being in your group, you don't, I can't still talk to my husband about things because he's not in the space. He doesn't know the lingo. He doesn't understand processes. That's not our discussion. He just sees the results and he's happy with that. And that's when a group, your mentor group or your mastermind group, that's where you get your support from. That's where you get your energy from. That's where you help others and encourage and motivate them. So that's the space, that's the proper space to utilize for those benefits versus necessarily your husband or your spouse or your
I
mom or whatever.
100% agree. And I think our relationship definitely improved when I stopped having those expectations that the light bulb was going to go on in his head the exact same way that it does in mine, or with the other people that I was talking to, because it's a different language. It's almost like you know growing up speaking English as my native language and me going to some other group speaking Spanish who doesn't speak English, and expecting them to 100% understand what I'm saying and why. It doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
But in time, if you're around that person, they may start picking up, well, this word means this and that means this, but it's kind of like a language barrier. And I didn't, realize that for the longest time. I just had this resentment. I'm like, fine, whatever. Well, I'm doing my own thing because I'm headstrong and stubborn, and you can just go somewhere else type of thing, but it wasn't until, like you mentioned, that, he started seeing, oh, okay, well, she's not completely full of it. There is money coming in. Yeah, I don't 100% get it, but okay, it's making her happy and she's making money, then I'm going to stay out of it. And
Mhm.
that's good enough. If that's what,
Yeah.
is that if that's what the relationship is, that's good. He doesn't need to understand and feel the same emotions that I feel. That's
Mhm.
what my group's for. That's what my coach is for. And it's okay to have those different relationships. I think actually it's more than okay. I think it's so important to have those different relationships.
It is. It really is. And I mean, everybody, we all get down. I try to be upbeat and positive and motivating and inspiring all the time, but I
Hmm.
have a bad day every once in a while, right?
Absolutely.
And it's hard to be perky and upbeat when you really are just not feeling good that day. It could be a
Yep.
physical thing. Maybe you're just tired. You just didn't sleep well, or maybe something happened. I mean, business, sometimes there are issues in business that kind of set you back, but
Yep.
it's all in how you respond to it. And you want to either take it as a learning experience and move forward, or you allow it to consume you and negatively affect you. So everything's a choice. When you wake up in the morning, everything is a choice. How is my day going to go? Regardless of what happens today, I will be positive. I will use it as a learning experience and I will do something to move forward. So
Absolutely.
it's all about mentality, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think positivity is so important, and I try to be 100% positive, but I also think there's something to be said for feeling the emotion, and that was something that I kind of kept them in separate boats for the longest time, that I thought I wanted a positive life. I wanted to be this positive person, and I was most of the time, but then I'd have the days where I wasn't. And then
Mhm.
I felt like I had this alter ego, like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing, and I just thought something was wrong with me. But really in reality, we all have those different emotions. And if we have a bad day or we have a bad week or whatever it may be, it's okay to feel let down or sad or angry. It's okay to have those emotions. That doesn't mean we can't be a positive person and live a positive life. Actually, it's more important, if you want to have a great life and a positive life, to be able to say, well, today sucked and here's why. I feel angry and here's why. To be
Yeah.
able to really feel that emotion and define it, because if not, you're just putting on this mask of, yes, I'm fine and everything's great. And, that only works for so long until it doesn't.
Exactly. You're going to explode. Those feelings will rise to the surface. And you know what? I'm glad you brought this whole subject up, because I think, especially in your group environment, it's okay to show other people that you're human, you're
Yep.
vulnerable, you have true feelings just like everybody else does. So I think when you show that personal side, it even makes you resonate even more and brings you closer to your audience, because they can relate to you. So it's like, wow, she is human. She had a bad day just like I did.
Absolutely.
And then you can use that as an opportunity to say, okay, yeah, it sucked. And you know what? This is just what I decided to do today.
Hmm.
And I just had a good cry. And now I feel so much better. So, whatever it is, hypothetically,
Yeah.
I'm making that up, but it shows them that, wow, the next time they have a bad day, maybe they can just go have a good cry, or whatever it is, and then they'll feel better too. So it is still, you can use it for a good opportunity for learning and motivating and inspiring others by showing your own vulnerability.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think it's so important because I think so many people get stuck in this. Well, there's no point in me even trying because they've got it all together and they're just so perfect and everything works out for them. Or, but I have this, and this going on. And that's what, I fell into that for the longest time, looking at other people. And, my life is chaotic. I mentioned, I have 7 kids. I have 7 kids. One of them's on the spectrum. My life is chaos, and I kept trying to just, make it all neat and tidy and neat and tidy and neat and tidy. And, thinking, well, when this is done, then, I'll work on my goal. Well, when it gets to this point, then I'll work on my goal. But the problem is, my life is not going to be that. That's not my life. So my life is just trying, and that's where the show, the title came from, Successfully Chaotic. Is trying to find the success in the chaos, because I think we think of them as two separate things, and most of the time they are. I mean, chaos, is chaos, but there's a way to look at chaos from an aspect of, there's beautiful sides to chaos. There can be, if it's managed in such a way. And my problem, early on, was trying to erase that chaos, but the very essence of my life was just chaos. There was no making it go away. So it was more just embracing that and figuring out, okay, well, this, and this is just given. This is a given, but I can control this. This is something that no matter what, I'm getting up and I'm doing my yoga, and it could be something so simple as that. I have a few priorities that I pick that I do every single day, no matter how crappy of a day my day can be. And some days are super crappy. These few things are something that I'm not giving up. Those are my boundaries. Those are something that no matter what, even if I have nothing else to show for the day, I have these 3 things that I'm going to do, then I'll call it a win. It was a successful day. And sometimes that's all I get, but there is something to be said for being able to show that side of things, because you have the people out there that think, well, I can't do that because, that's not my life, or their life is so perfect. And I even had people say it to me before I started like airing all my dirty laundry, being, well, this was my day. You can look at this. And if I can make it happen today, you can make it happen too, because that became my mantra. Because I used to be the person looking at their stuff going, oh my gosh, it's just so perfect. There's no way I'll ever measure up. And I was comparing myself to them, and I kept trying for that perfection that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, don't set yourself up for failure. But oh my God, just listening to you, just the idea of having 7 children makes me think, oh my gosh, if this girl can be successful, I can do anything, because I only have 3 dogs. So
But those are dogs are like perpetual children though. So they're like perpetual 2-year-olds. It's like they never grow up.
For sure. But that's inspiring and motivating in itself, just without even knowing anything else about you, that if you're able to do that, wow, that's motivating. That's motivating. So congrats to you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I just really like the idea of telling people, your life, whatever your life looks like, is your life, and there's beauty in it. No matter if you've got terrible parts of your life, we can work through that. We can overcome that. Let's look at your life and figure out what's beautiful in it. Let's figure out, what your goals are, because everybody can pull something, to focus on. And I think, again, going back to just the groups and the masterminds and, coaching, I think that's what a lot of coaches are so great at, especially if you find one that resonates with you, is looking at your life in such a way that you can't look at it because you're so bogged down by the everyday of it, that it's really hard for you to see all the possibilities or even all the reasons to why you're not getting over that hump to the next level. And I think that's so important, kind of going back to implementation. So if you could like speak to somebody right now, like maybe they're listening and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I have been that course absorber and I've, read all the things, and I, have all these ideas, but I get to the point of implementing and I freeze. What would be some steps that you could tell them to start? I mean, obviously working with a coach and getting a mastermind is critical, but let's say today it's midnight when they're listening to this. And what is something they could do right now that would help to start to propel them forward to where they're able to get out of that?
Great question. And for me, I think it is all about determining the why behind whatever your goal is. Okay. So for me, I wanted to be an Amazon seller. In my mind, that was That's my ticket to out of corporate America. That's my ticket to financial freedom and being my own boss and being able to work from home. So connecting that why of I want to sell on Amazon, but the reason why is because I can early retire if I can make it. That's what propels me and continues to propel me to be successful in driving forward. So determining, setting your goal and then asking yourself why and drilling down, keep drilling down. Continue to ask yourself why every time you make a statement, at least 3 to 7 times to get down to your true why. That is when you're going to create unstoppable momentum and a driving force to make sure that your goals are achieved. So I'll share something real personal with you. And it really just emphasizes the point of drilling down far enough. So, I want to retire, I want to quit my job, I want to be financially independent, and I think Amazon's the way, right? That's my goal. But when I ask myself why do I really want all that? And keep drilling down farther, it truly comes down to both my parents passed away at 59 years old to cancer. My sister passed away at 58. None of them saw a dime of their 401k check. They worked their entire lives. They never got to retire. They never got to travel. They never got to do anything after all that work and effort. And I determined I will not repeat that cycle. I want the life that everybody, the American dream is to work and then you retire and you're able to spend time with your family and grandkids and, rest, relax, whatever you want to do. And they never got to do that. Realizing that I want something different for my life, obviously within as much control as I have. That is the driving force. Every single time I get a frustration or a disappointing day or whatever obstacle I have to overcome, I just think about, I'm not going to be that. It goes back down to that true why deep down. And if you haven't drilled down far enough to where it becomes emotional for you, you need to keep asking yourself why.
Absolutely.
And keep going further because you haven't connected it and anchored it yet. Once you get that anchoring that goal to that true why, you will be unstoppable from that point forward. So to me, that's the difference of implementation, and you're not going to give up. Once you know truly that's what you want to do and you're destined to do it, you're unstoppable at that point. So that's where you need to connect to. Some people just give up too early. They simply just say, oh, it's too hard, or I can't do it, or I don't have my support system at home, whatever the excuses are. We've all been there at some point. But until you anchor it to that deep down true emotional why, that's going to be when it's life-changing for you. And that's when you can move forward.
Absolutely. And, from a marketing standpoint, I have background in marketing, we look at emotions on even how to market things, how to present things, because humans are very emotional beings. So anytime that you can connect something to an emotion, whether it be, your why to drive you, or, your ideal client's why to drive them to whatever it is you have, it's an emotional exchange. So I love that you mentioned that. I just about, ask yourself why until it becomes very emotional, because, and when we may have more than one, emotional attachment, somebody may have, the same thing as you, they want to, enjoy the retirement while they're able to really enjoy it and not wait for the, when ever that they're told to retire type of thing. Or it could be the freedom, financial freedom. A lot of people ends up diving back to just financial freedom as a whole, and it could be layers of different things in between. But I think being able to dig into the why and connect it with an emotion, I 110% agree that is something that is tangible and anybody should be able to do, even if it, don't think it's like an instant thing. For a lot of people, I think sometimes you have to kind of mull on it. You have to kind of think about it, and you may peel off a different layer as you go along. That's how it was with me. I had the very surface why that I thought was my deep, deep, deep why. It was connected to an emotion, but there was deeper levels of emotion that it took me a little longer to get to, until I figured out that, my real root, emotion was being in control of my life. Because for so long in my life, I felt I was just out of control, and I, had things happen, to me that, I had no control over. And so my deepest why, yes, I wanted the freedom and, all that stuff, but my deep, deep, deep why that it took me a long time to unearth was that I wanted to be in control of my own life, whatever that looked like. So, and I
Mhm.
think that it's important to be able to ask yourself those questions, to be able to get to back to your own, emotional attachment, and be able to start to implement all these visions and all these plans and all these things. I see so many people sitting on so much like amazing stuff. I've worked with people that they have, even courses like worked out, and I look at them like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. And they're sitting on it because they've got this like emotional hang up of implementing it and going to the next level for whatever reason.
Well, and it could just be fear of speaking on camera. I just talked to someone in this same mastermind the other night that where we went on for 2 hours, and she was like, "I'm just so afraid to speak on camera." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You are an expert in your field. You have the skill sets that people are yearning for this knowledge. You need to get over that.
Yeah.
We need to help you figure out a way where you can overcome your fears." And because that one little hang up was stopping her from sharing her knowledge with the world. And that was so sad to me that she was allowing that issue or that obstacle to control her destiny. So when you really first acknowledge it, okay, it is a fear. It's very real. I totally understand it. What can we do, or what can you do to take a step to overcome that so you can get beyond it and continue moving forward? So, whether it's taking a class or whether it's joining someone else's program or practicing in the mirror, there you can always overcome an obstacle. Where there's a will, there's a way. It just depends. It goes right back to implementation. How bad do you want it?
Mhm.
And how bad do you want to be successful? And are you going to allow it? You're making the choice. Are you going to allow this one teeny obstacle to stop you? Or are you going to do what it takes? Go back to that emotional why and not allow something to intervene in your path to success.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times we have this expectation of perfection right out of the gate.
Mhm.
That, if we don't think that we can, do it perfect the first time, that we don't even want to try. And
Right.
I'm always, always saying like launch it ugly. Now, yes, you want to have it good. You want to have it,
Mhm.
where it actually makes sense to somebody, but forget perfection.
Yeah.
There's not this, especially with you mentioned live videos, there's not the same expectation on videos that there used to be. Used to they were, they were done professionally with camera crews and all this stuff. And now we have the benefit to do like we're doing now and, talk on Zoom, and I'm sitting in my bedroom and, I'm in my yoga clothes and, I mean, there's no level of perfection going on. And it did take me a while to get over that hump. This was not an overnight process. But what I came to figure out was that people want the real, raw, authentic you. And yeah, maybe, there's sometimes I look good and I'm dressed up and I got my hair fixed and, all that. And there's sometimes I look like this. More often I look like this. But, either way, what I have to say is what they're coming for. They don't care. We think that people care about what we're showing up looking at. And 9 times out of 10, they don't.
No, and it makes you more human. Again, it's a
Yeah,
relatable factor. So it's all a good thing. Imperfect action. You just take
absolutely.
imperfect action and you naturally improve over time. So it's just a process.
I agree so wholeheartedly. And I think that, those little things can cost us so much emotionally, financially, all those things, those little hangups. And, forget the perfection, get what you have ready to be launched to the world and just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And then that's what I always ask, my clients, even I'm like, well, what's the worst going to happen? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
That you get on there and you feel dumb. Okay. Well, I felt dumb about 1,000 times, and I'm still here. I'm still here, still kicking, still stuff, because almost everybody have had those days where like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or oh, whatever. We all have, but at the same time, again, it makes us more human, more relatable. And honestly, when I think about my target audience is not going to care. My target audience isn't the people who feel like they got it all together and all that stuff. My target audience is, real people who, have days where they feel on top of the world and days where like this sucks. I just want to like crawl into bed and not get out. They're
Mhm.
very much that real. That's my target. So if that's my target, the idea that I was so hung up on trying to show up perfect for the longest time was really not helping me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
self-sabotage. So we
absolutely.
all do it. We all do it. And the beauty of that is just recognize it and then get out of the pattern. But again, just show vulnerability. I never thought was a bad thing. So it just
No,
makes it more human and relatable.
I love that. And so talk a little bit about your courses that you have for anybody that may be interested. And when we do air this, it'll be in the show notes and we'll end up putting this on YouTube, the behind the scenes. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, it's in the show notes there too. But go ahead and talk a little bit about the courses that you have and a little bit about how somebody can work with you if they're interested in coaching.
Okay, so basically, my program is e-commerce business management certification. So what I create with that are students that learn the e-commerce world in order to go to business owners and say, hey, do you need help selling your products online? This year, more than ever, because of the lockdown and everything else, people are shopping online and brick and mortar stores are closing, in droves. So if small business owners don't know how to manage e-commerce, they've never been online before. They now realize the major serious need to get online, but they don't have the time and effort or ability to learn Amazon,
It's
especially
a
or
learning curve.
Shopify or
Yeah.
any of that. Oh my gosh, it is a beast to learn. Now I've been in the space for going on now to my third year and I'm still learning. So it's so basically I teach people how to manage e-commerce businesses for clients. So help them get online and then manage it all the process for them and earn a commission off their sales in order that is your payment for working with this client. That way, you become like a business partner. It's an invested opportunity to where the more sales you can generate for this client, the more money you're making.
Yeah.
So it's not a VA, it's not a virtual assistant because they get paid an hourly rate regardless of what they accomplish. As an e-commerce business manager, you are partnering with this business to grow the business and it's to your advantage because of the more commissions you can earn. They're happy, you happy, it's a win-win all across the board. So that's the certification program. To explain the whole process of what an EBM is, e-commerce business manager, then I do have a free 5-day challenge, and that we're actually starting that November the 30th. So I'm not sure how that date will play in here. I'm sure we'll repeat it in the future, but that's called Online Selling Basics, and it really goes over just if you're thinking about e-commerce, how to get started in the space, the different methods that are out there, the most risky, and then there's the non-risky way. So it's a great comparison for you to learn about all the different methods out there and to get the skinny on the smarter way to do it. And that's without spending thousands and thousands of dollars of your own money in product inventory upfront that you don't even know is going to sell.
Absolutely.
So,
I've been there, done that too.
yeah, myself included. So that's why this is such a risk-free opportunity, but it can be either for people brand new to the e-commerce space or even successful sellers already looking to scale by using a new methodology. So you can
It sounds to
find
me
me.
like it would be good even for people that aren't selling right now. But honestly, we're all, in the back of our minds, a lot of people are always looking how to monetize further, or, there's a big push on monetizing whatever it is, or maybe merch stores or different things. It
Right.
sounds to me like that would be a great opportunity, even for any business owner,
Yeah.
just to be able to figure out, okay, well, what if I want to sell? What would be the first steps to take?
And we teach you the background on the most common platforms. We teach you all the steps. So it truly is a certification program, even with an exam at the end, because when you come out of this school, you are certified. So that gives you instant credibility when you start contacting clients. And then we have another whole part of the program is how to find winning clients, right?
Yeah.
So not only are you trained, but now how to connect and find the business owners that you can actually partner with. So it's a wonderful program. I'm so proud of it. And I've worked really hard for a year putting all this together. And all of it comes from 2 years of trial and error and what worked, what didn't, and documenting the process all the way and continually fine tuning and adding new information just to make it the best possible course possible out there in order to make the success stories out of every student.
I love that. And I love that you said that you have, after the certification, you have the next step, because I think with pretty much all, I'm trying to think, probably all the certifications I have in the different things. I have some in the marketing world, some in the wellness world. I don't think any of them had a follow up. Well, now how do you do your job?
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, well, good luck and may life do good things for you type of thing. And that was another learning process. And, you get done with your certification. You're like, yes, I know all the things and I'm ready to do this. And you're like, okay, well, now what do I do?
What do I
So
do? Right.
yeah. And I think that's great that now, they not only do they learn and they get certified on the how to, but okay, well, what's the next step? Because I think so many people, if once they get past the certification, they're all excited and they lose that enthusiasm because it's like, now what do I do with it?
Right. Yes. And it goes right back to the implementation part. So without that continual guidance and support afterwards from a good, solid community around you to
Hmm.
continually motivate you and encourage you, and what obstacles are you having? How can we help you get over that? We even give you scripts of what to say. We give you email templates. We give you messaging templates.
That's
We give
great.
you everything is just laid out. All you have to do is just pick it up and plug and play, implement it. We've already figured out all the steps for you. So it's a no-brainer type thing. And all it takes is just some effort on your part to get it done, really.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I'll make sure that, the links to find all this is in the notes. That way people, because I mean, honestly, I think everybody should sign up for your free 5 day just to see,
Yes,
just
just
to see,
fun.
just to learn and see, okay, was this something that I'm interested in? Because, we mentioned earlier when we were talking that there is a place for the free stuff. And that's am I interested? Is this something that's interesting to me? Because, it doesn't do any good if you're not interested. It doesn't do any good if you don't have the drive and the passion for it, and that's how you figure it out. Do that challenge. 5 days. Anybody can get 5 days.
Yeah, and it's called Online Selling Basics, and you can find that at onlinesellingbasics.com. But it's how to go from an independent seller or someone with an idea that they want to sell to professional business owner in just 5 days.
That's great. I love that. And I've enjoyed talking to you. And I
Yeah,
think that, you give off this vibe of just joy and happiness. And, I love that. I love talking to people that have that, I don't know, just see like your vibe. So
oh,
I think
thank
that, yeah, it's so great. And I'm so happy that you've been able to, retire from your 9 to 5 and been able to kind of come up with all this stuff that you're helping other people, be able to implement, their goals into their own life. And I think that is so critical that they're
you.
not hung up in the stuck in the in-between zone.
Well, and when I first started, I didn't get any of this help. And that's when I vowed to myself, I mean, after days of sitting on the floor crying, I can't figure this out.
Yep. Yeah.
What am I going to do? And then I finally said, if I ever make it, I'm going to help other people and I'm going to be present and I'm going to be live and they're going to have a person to talk to and be able to truly mentor people. So that's my goal. And I'm glad that I'm coming across that way because that's truly how I mean it.
And I think that that's when you can tell that somebody's kind of in their space they're supposed to be in is, they've gone through all the hurdles, they've gone through all the questions. And like you said, you made that vow. And, you hear the saying, be who you needed, and that's how I try to run the things that I run too, is I try to be who I needed for whatever space that I'm in at that moment,
Mhm.
because, we know the problems that we faced and we know that we tried to find the solutions and it wasn't there. So that's a definite need. And I love that you're being a solution to all these people. It was so great having you on today.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it and I so enjoyed it. So let's definitely stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.